was like, maybe that would be a good option. And then it made me stop almost in my tracks and immediately go, yeah, but that's sort of the easy way out. That's me stepping into a comfort zone. That's me, yeah, taking the easy way out.
Hi there and welcome. So this is a continuation of my series on storms and how we walk through them effectively. Today I'm joined by my friend Troy Reeves, and I hope this adds value to you as it's added value to me as well. The decision to do this series has many reasons.
Because where would we be 5 years from now looking back? Are we going to be shitting on ourselves, thinking, I should have done all these things and I didn't. I didn't have the courage, or I didn't take the chance. What would happen if we could pay that price of discipline right now while we're being tested? Because none of us are thankful for the storm that we find ourselves in, but this storm could prepare us, even if we're not prepared for it.
Yeah, and like we said, like either way there's pain, either way we have to pay. Right? John talks about pay now versus pay later. Jim Rohn talks about the pains. Either way, it's the same concept. We have the payment is pain, right? The payment is our transference of something for whatever it is that we want to achieve. And then the payment just grows the longer we wait. I was thinking about comfort zones too, because even in those questions I was asking myself this morning, I was like, well, if I just did, and I filled in the blank with a potential, I was like, maybe that would be a good option. And then it made me stop almost in my tracks and immediately go, yeah, but that's sort of the easy way out. That's me stepping into a comfort zone. That's me, taking the easy way out. And I remember reading a quote by, I think it was Neil Strauss, who said, great things never came from comfort zones.
That's right.
And so,
did we ever talk about some of that? Like the whole idea, like I share this picture on social media, and I've been teaching this to some people about what happens when you get out of your comfort zone. Outside of comfort, we walk into another zone. The first one we hit is fear. The fear zone is huge. Most people, when they step out of comfort and encounter fear, they chicken out and they go right back into the comfort zone. And that propagates the addiction cycle. Addiction is about comfort. What can I do to escape the pressure, relieve the pain, or reward myself for something? When I get stuck into that comfort pattern, I never grow, because we know we can't grow when we're comfortable. That's why we call them growing pains. So once we understand that fear exists outside of comfort, what do we have to do? We actually have to intentionally choose to face our fear. This is where old exposure desensitization methods came from. They still work. How do we overcome fear? We start facing our fear in small doses. If you were to reflect right now, and I'm not necessarily asking you to, but imagine you went back into that Rolodex of what you were thinking about this morning and start to ask yourself, what am I avoiding right now in terms of growth that most terrifies me? And would I be willing to do something more in line with my fear instead of the safe routes that maybe I can grow in my safe zone or my comfort zone? But is there something that you're saying, I could go do this, but what if I fail? Or what if I don't get the result? Or what if it blows up in my face? Could that be more likely the path towards growth? And once we start to face that fear zone and go through fear, which in my mind has always been false evidence appearing real. Some people say face everything and rise. I like that one too. But how can we go through fear and then get into that third zone, which is the learning zone? The learning zone is huge. There are so many things that we don't know. And when we start to comfort ourselves with the idea that, guess what? I don't know what I don't know. And I'm okay with that. I'm not going to know everything. We are going to continue sharpening one another and growing one another. This is normal. And when I find people that think that they somehow should know everything, I challenge that and I go, well, where's the opportunity to grow then? We're always going to be growing. And once we can transcend fear and move into that learning zone, that's when we start to experience growth. But it's always going to be a process of intentionally getting out of comfort, facing our fear, and then moving into learning and growth.
Totally, because that fear of failure is the thing that's paralyzes most people, and I think I had mentioned in one of our previous conversations or one of my previous videos that I remember growing up and not trying terribly hard in school, and not trying hard in school because I didn't want to experience, it was that avoidance, right? I didn't want to experience what it potentially would feel like if I tried and failed.
Yeah.
So I might as well just not try at all. And then realize later on that I was really living very mediocre, and that I was not a mediocre person. I was not born to be mediocre. And so the only way I could potentially not be mediocre was I had to actually try, which meant I have to step into that fear zone.
Yeah.
And then into that learning zone, right? Because that true self-discovery begins where that comfort zone really ends, because then we start to discover who we are, what we're capable of. And we can start asking ourselves some of those why questions that you and I have said are good once you get out of the emotion state, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when we're really worked up about something, it isn't really that thing itself that's really scaring us or working us up, but it's our perception of it.
Exactly.
We get the choice to take back that power at any point in time. And so even as we walk through these storms right now, we get the choice to take back our power based on what we choose to focus on. If I'm bringing it back full circle again.
No, I like that. I like how you did that. That's good. To pick another thing off of what you said, there's another circle we can follow. You had talked about having the courage to try. What if we could reframe that one just a little bit? And what if we helped people understand the difference between trying and doing? So there's a fundamental difference here. People that try have already accepted failure as a possibility. People that do will continue to do. They don't care if they fail. We understand, you and I both know this, failure is a catalyst to learn. When someone tells me they're afraid to fail, what I'm really hearing is I'm afraid to learn. Because we don't learn necessarily from the win in life. We learn from the lose. That's what I love about one of John Maxwell's books. He talks about sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. Mm-hmm. We can rewrite that narrative that says, well, sometimes I win and sometimes I lose. That's never true anymore. If we understand that learning comes from failure, failure is a catalyst to learn. And if you're telling me you're too afraid to fail, then you're really too afraid to learn. So how can we nudge people towards doing something instead of trying? Mm-hmm. I think the difference there might be passion. People without passion will try something because they're like, you know what? I can try a little bit of personal growth during COVID-19. And then when they fail, they just go, well, I tried. Don't bug me.
I hate the word try because try opens that option to fail all the time, right? It always opens the option just to fail and just to give up. I hate the word try because real change really happens. We have to almost create that. You know, using like motivational interviewing or whatever, you got to create that pain of staying the same being greater than the pain of change, right? So like, because again, it goes back to that whole idea that we have to face multiple pains in life. But when the pain of change is bigger than the pain of staying the same, we're just going to stay the same because we don't want to step into that pain of change.
That's right.
And so we almost have to, and passion is that piece, I do think. I think passion is such a big piece, and that's I would say it's one of the biggest things that's been sitting on my heart for a significant period of time is this idea of stirring up the dust and creating passion in people, because only when we start to create some passion will people start to take some steps.
Yeah.
They need to be going after something that they know that this is my thing. This is, you know, whether I create this for just myself or I create this for millions upon millions of people, I'm going to do this because I'm so stinking passionate about it.
Yeah.
You need to have it, right? And if you don't have that, you're not going to make a lot of change.
No, you're probably not going to make any change. I think that's, if I remember correctly, that's one of John's favorite attributes of a leader. He talks about the key for passion. We need to be passionate again. We need to find something that we could be passionate about, and then go relentlessly pursue it and go do something different. And that's what I'm hoping really happens maybe I'm an eternal optimist, but I keep hoping that this pandemic that we find ourselves in could be a great awakening for people.
Mm-hmm.
We have long told ourselves the lie that we're too busy. We're too busy for intentional relationships. We're too busy to add value to other people. And then it's almost like God says, hold my beer. And then here comes COVID. Not that I'm saying God caused COVID by any stretch, but this test, which I truly believe this is, it's a test. This test is designed to reveal our character. And what we're going to see in ourselves will either shock us or it will slap us into something that might help us find our passion again. We have been complacent. Why is it that we've seen a sudden surge in Zoom calls? 800%, I think, was the last stat that I heard, was the rise in Zoom. So, I mean, something's shifting. People are starting to no longer take for granted the key relationships that they once took for granted. So now everybody wants to connect. We can use that. We've talked before about how do we connect with people before we ever attempt to correct people. That's the missing piece. We're up till this point, we've all been big on trying to correct one another. Social justice warriors and censorship on social media. What would happen if we stopped correcting everybody and instead we started connecting with everybody? Connecting like this, connecting, finding ways to develop that passion again, being stirred up, fired up, finding that ability to say, you know what, I need a little dose of passion in my life. If I'm complacent, it falls on me to stir that up. And if I don't know where to grow, that could create the first opportunity. And that is, how do we lean into others that might have a different perspective? How could we drive people to start facing their fear, contacting people like you and I and saying, you know what, I'm ready to be humble. I'm ready to grow. How can I press in? How can we add value to their journey? How can we continue to be humble leaders, knowing that we have our own vulnerabilities that we have to watch for, and at the same time model that pattern of finding passion, creating passion, finding fearless, like you talk about, and how can we go be those kind of leaders, and how can we lead by example, unlike so many people that have capitalized on this fear. Like I probably get 4 or 5 marketing emails every day about people wanting to help me generate leads. And I'm like, that's just great. But I mean, I can see how some people are trying to profit off of all this chaos, but I don't see leadership. I just see them saying, hey, we can drive people to you for a fee. And I'm thinking, we can do better than this. We've got to find a way to grow in this storm, find that passion, and be able to look ourselves in the mirror at the end of the day and say, you know what, I'm not perfect. It's about progress. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking to do one thing, to change one thing, to shift one mindset, something from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and then say, okay, what else could happen? What would happen if I drop this rock into a new lake? I'm going to create some ripples. I have no idea where they're going to go. And that's okay. So I don't know. I'm thankful for all of this. I think thankfulness is something else that's been missing in this storm, is how can we be thankful in the storm, and how can we add value to one another and keep our eyes on forward momentum and growth?